Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks. My mother-in-law, she wouldn't call and complain. She'd think something got messed up and she'll get it next month.
Yeah.
A fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining.
There were a couple of just absolutely crazy clips dealing with fraud on the Twitter last week that I wanted to react to, because this is, I mean, it really is just insane. And the way that you know that all of this Elon Musk, Howard Lutnick throwing around words like fraud, waste, and abuse, that is now more or less code for turn your brain off and let me cut whatever I want. And it's meant to cover and meant to paint people who oppose these things as folks who are fighting in favor of fraud, waste, and abuse. But the reality is that fraud, waste, and abuse those are legal terms. And, I have taken, I handled money. I had to oversee the moving around of literally millions of dollars within the federal government. And so I had to take fiscal law classes. I had to take ethics courses. And in these fiscal law trainings and ethics courses, I saw examples of people actually committing fraud and actually being arrested for wasting the government's resources, right? And so, but you've not seen any of that. There's not been any arrests made or charges alleged or anything actually trying to hold people to account for violations of the law, because violations of the law have not happened. It's just spending that they don't like. And that's not fraud, waste, and abuse. Those are legal terms. That's not what we're seeing. And so the first clip is of Howard Lutnick basically, I think, trying to prime the pump for when the Social Security payment systems collapse. We've seen insiders from the Social Security Administration and from the Treasury get concerned about all of the cuts that we are seeing within the federal government, potentially leading to a collapse of these payment systems that have never missed a payment before. And, unlike private companies where, like Twitter, when they were doing this overhaul of Twitter or whatever, Twitter was incredibly buggy. I mean, when, who was it? Vivek Ramaswamy? Oh, no. It was the Florida, Ron DeSantis. When he announced his run, people don't remember this. It's been memory hold. When he announced his run for president, he did it on a Twitter Spaces that was completely screwed up. Like, it was just completely messed up. And that was because, in large part, Elon had fired so many different people, and the system was rickety and it was falling apart. And if that happens to Twitter, it's not really a huge deal. If it happens to the United States government, people aren't able to pay their rent the next month. People aren't able to get the surgeries that they need. Planes aren't able to take people on business trips. Commerce shuts down, right? I mean, really, really problematic things if the government starts creaking and falling apart, right? But here's Howard Lutnick trying to prepare people for when this happens and to make people think that, you shouldn't really be that concerned about it. Here he is talking about Social Security.
Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain. She just wouldn't. She'd think something got messed up, and she'll get it next month.
Yeah.
A fraudster always makes the loudest noise, screaming, yelling, and complaining.
I mean, can you believe this absolute vulture, blood-sucking leech? Do you know why Howard Lutnick, Mr. Billionaire, Secretary of the Department of the Treasury, do you know why your 94-year-old mother would not be super worried if her Social Security check didn't come in? It's because her son is a billionaire. And if she is for some reason still living paycheck to paycheck, she knows that she can borrow money from her billionaire son. Okay, most 94-year-olds on Social Security are not so lucky. And they probably, whether or not they complained, this would be a big, if you don't get your monthly check and you're living month to month, that is going to be a huge disruption that would be a direct result of the failures of the Trump administration. And he's trying to prime you for that. He's trying to prime you to be prepared for Social Security to not send out your checks some months into the future, and to prepare people who don't receive Social Security checks to see the backlash against that and think those are fraudsters. And think that those people are trying to bilk me for my money, not the billionaire running the Treasury. Absolutely, absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, I don't know a single person on Social Security who could miss a month and just be okay. I really don't.
Right.
I mean, I know there's plenty out there who do have 401ks and pensions and other things that, supplement their Social Security, but a huge number of people rely on Social Security as their primary means of life. Like, that is literally how they keep the lights on. That's how they keep food in the refrigerator. That's how they live, is this monthly Social Security check. And to think that the average person could just skip a whole month's pay and be fine, not complain about it. Yeah, it is incredibly out of touch because, I mean, even working people who are actively in the workforce, right? And Social Security is primarily folks who are retired, folks who are disabled. But even those who are working, who have a paycheck, over 60% of those are paycheck to paycheck. Right? That's the thing. Most people are much closer to homelessness than they ever are to wealth.
Right.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
And Mark continues his streak in the chat of like having kind of basic like comprehension skills. And so he says, no Social Security checks, false information. We didn't say that Social Security checks have not gone out yet. We didn't say that anything. The whole lead up, the whole prep for this clip was that I think maybe he is, maybe he isn't. It was my opinion, and I said it as such. But I think that Lutnick is trying to prepare people for an event some months in the future where Social Security checks don't come as promised because of the failures of the Trump administration and the failures of the Doji experiment. And I did not say that Social Security checks have not gone out yet.
Right.
Although there have already been discrete problems, it hasn't been a mass problem, but there have been people who have been identified in the Social Security system as dead who were not dead, and who Elon Musk revoked, not only stopped payments from going to this person, but pulled back payments going months retroactively out of this guy's bank account because he had incorrectly identified this person as dead. You can go and look that up. There haven't been mass problems yet, but there are already discrete examples like that.
And there's more problems on the way because they are laying off workers at the Social Security Administration, which is already understaffed and overloaded, right? So it's going to be even more difficult to access the benefits that you have earned. And my understanding is they are at least floating out the idea of taking away phone verification for Social Security benefits, which is going to force more people to try to make appointments at the office, which already takes a month or longer for most people to get an appointment, or use the online system. And many of the people who are trying to get these benefits simply will not be able to do that.
Right, and we just talked about
a lot of reasons.
We just talked about last week in Southern Labor how there's there's been a long time partnership between Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, and the Social Security Administration for USCIS to be able to apply for Social Security cards on behalf of authorized immigrants so that they don't have to individually go to field offices themselves. The Social Security Administration can process these applications in bulk, and it's a lot more efficient. Well, the Trump administration is stopping that, meaning that these immigrants are going to have to go to field offices individually themselves, which could see as much as a 20 to 30% increase in foot traffic in Social Security field offices every single week, which will further delay other services from going out. And just to put a pin on this, the point about, fraud not existing within the federal government to the extent that Elon Musk wants people to believe. Here's a clip from CNN from Martin. I forget his last name. He wrote The Big Short or something like that.
Okay.
I
don't remember his last name, but I recall the fella.
So he makes a point about fraud in private companies versus the federal government. Let's listen to him.
And I do think it's true that when people throw around insults about the federal bureaucrats, they're really revealing they don't know what goes on in the federal government. It's a mind-bendingly complicated place. It's doing lots of different things, some of them very well and some of them less well. When you go in, one of the things you notice is how hard fraud would be to perpetrate. Waste is different. Waste is a little complicated. And there are all sorts of inefficiencies that are not really the fault of the workers. It's more the fault of the structure of the system. But you can't take a federal worker to lunch and buy them a turkey sandwich. They just won't take the money. They're watched every which way, and they're just conditioned to be very, very careful about what they do financially. And like you said to me, Michael, you got to go write a story about fraud. I would much rather go look for it in a private company. Much more likely to find it.
You think it's easier to find fraud in a private company than in the civil service?
Oh yeah. I mean, I worked on Wall Street, and there are, a million things happen every day in a Wall Street firm that if it happened in the civil service, it would be a scandal. The people there permanently are constantly sort of kind of jerry-rigging whatever they're doing in response to, say, effectively a lack of an under-provision of resources. They're not getting new technology when they should get new technology. It's hard to hire new people. Right now, it's really interesting. It's hard to get young people, and the Doge team, the first thing they did was basically fire all the young people, all the people who'd just been hired.
And so there you go. Very obviously true. And I remember the gift rule for federal employees. You can't accept. It's something like you can't accept a gift over $20 or $25 from a person outside of the federal government because of risks of fraud and stuff like that, right? And there is an NLRB attorney on Twitter that I follow, Brandon Magner, who was responding to some of the discourse about this, and he said people just fundamentally misunderstand how risk-averse most federal employees are. I had a trial scheduled out of state next week, and there were literally 4 layers of internal review required to approve my hotel. All of the slowness that we hate about the government is actually in many ways anti-fraud stuff, right? And so the idea that there's just a ridiculous amount of fraud within the federal government, not true. The board op, I don't know if y'all can hear the board op, but he's telling us that they need to tell Clarence Thomas that. But it's just so it's so far from the truth. Not true. Don't believe it. They're liars, and they want to make you think that so that you do not object when they steal money from your government. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.